How's it going, guys? We have a really cool live stream tonight, one of my favorite topics. Basically, I polled you guys to see what I should do. Actually, I'm not sure if we're actually live or not. Just a second while this catches up. Okay. So it says 7 seconds, so I'm assuming that you guys heard all that. Oh, no, hold on. Let me get the other one live, and then I'll start over. Sorry. Come on. All right, so tonight we're going to dive into one of my favorite subjects. It's basically what my life is really about. A lot of people have, made comments over the years about how I should just stick to the plant medicine content and stuff, but that's not the point. That's not what I'm here for. That's a tool that is part of a tradition. It's part of many traditions, but it is part of the Western mystery tradition. And my preference, or my it's not even really like a preference exactly. It's just a really convenient compository of very powerful knowledge that does not require faith because it is testable. And you'll see evidence of it that is sometimes maybe not like the kind of evidence that would convict in a court of law, but circumstantial and anecdotal, but very strong nevertheless. For example, I just saw something today in Albert Pike, his Morals and Dogma I read during my Patreon secret stream. If you're not a member of the Patreon, please head over there and join, and you can access 4 years of secret material, mostly secret Masonic degrees and material, but also there's some plant medicine instruction and ritual magic instruction, all that kind of thing. So there's this analogy in one of Aleister Crowley's old books of magic. And he talks about how he compares reincarnation to the adventures, what do they call it? The migration, not transmigration, transmigration of souls. There's another word, psychomedicosis. Metapsychosis. Sorry. That was the old Greek word for it. Metempsychosis. That's it. Excuse me. Metempsychosis. So it's like this, I guess, transfer of metamorphosis and mind. And so the analogy that was made, and this is important because all of this stuff works this way. What I'm explaining right now is what the Kybalion is trying to tell you. It is what Freemasonry teaches you. It's what anyone that creates a dialogue with the universe, no matter the culture, no matter the methods, there are certain conclusions and certain realities that are sort of the wiring under the board is pulled out so you can look at it. And so this analogy was that in the same way that a single molecule of carbon started in a star, and then, who knows, it ends up at the bottom of the ocean as a piece of sand, and then it's transformed into a different type of calcium when it's picked up by an oyster and causes a, irritation, and it turns into a pearl, and then it gets smashed into a million pieces and we're talking like, 200 million years ago, way long time. And so, the ocean disappears and mountains come up right there, and so that little piece of carbon now is in a diamond mine. And at first it's just dirt, and then it's coal, and then it's a diamond. And then at the end of time, when the sun swells and consumes that which it created, the Ouroboros now, right? It would be the case with immense heat that the elements would separate. And that individual molecule of carbon would remain unchanged despite its transmigration, its series of reincarnations from sand to pearl to dirt to coal to diamond, right? And when it finally emerged at the end of time, it would have had all these experiences and accrued all of this. But then when it's separated again, it is its own individual unique self again. And so what I saw today that just blew my mind, because this was written even earlier, I think 1851. Albert Pike, in case you don't know, was a 33rd degree Grand Commander of the Southern Jurisdiction of the United States right after the Civil War. And speaking of preternatural stuff, I actually dreamed that book, which is sitting there on the table, I might use it tonight, where it was, and I told my girlfriend what we were doing so I'd have a witness, and I went down to the used bookstore, and it was right on the shelf where it was in the dream. It's a first edition. It's destroyed now because I've had it for 20 years or something, and I've brought it everywhere with me. But anyway, so what he was saying is that the Greeks, so now we're 2,000 years back. One of the things they said about Apollo, who is basically the sun as well, all these solar deities have all this stuff in common. Most importantly, probably music, magic, elevation of consciousness. right? And gold, for very good reasons. A lot of occultists believe that gold is crystallized sunshine and that light is the source of consciousness. So at any rate, though, so the emanation of consciousness from a star, that's the important takeaway there. So the Greeks said that Apollo was the liberator of elements. Did you hear what I just said? They somehow knew that if you were to take some clump of matter and shoot it into the heart of the sun, that all of the elements that were there would separate. They can't mean anything else, right? I mean, what else does that mean? You know, sun god, liberator of elements, it's wild, you know? And so the reason that this whole mystery tradition is so powerful is that you don't have to take anything on faith. You're not memorizing some dogma and trying to adhere to some kind of principles that may not actually suit your inner being. It's about self-discovery, self-knowledge, self-empowerment. And a lot of people are suspicious of that because they think, well, that sounds like the left-hand path, and aren't you guys kind of like a little bit luciferian maybe, and, you know, kind of dark sometimes and stuff? But I don't think that a lot of that is based on misconceptions, first of all. And, you know, in my own experience, I'm really putting myself out there right now too, but if it benefits you, then I'm fine with it, I guess. I'm a very emotionally flat person. I'm kind of like a Vulcan, you know, like Dr. Spock on Star Wars. He didn't really care. He had no emotions, but he always tried to do the right thing, and he always knew what the right thing was. It's something about his fundamental nature compelled him to do good, you know, but it had nothing to do with feeling anything. And another thing that I encountered in this Masonic book today that I'd forgotten about is he actually talks about how, you know, once you have deconditioned and aligned yourself with the just natural flow of your being, chances are very, 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 very high that regardless of, you know, the fact that you may be completely emotionally detached, you're still going to sort of be aligned with this positive flow. It's actually just kind of our natural state. So that was a pretty remarkable thing to see. I see 30 viewers in here and 0 likes, man. There's no way that's fair. I'm just checking in with the chat real quick. Yeah, I mean, and there's just so much to this, you know, but it's really simple. And what I've noticed over the 40 years or whatever, you know, 30, I've been thinking about this stuff forever. I mean, I guess my entire life is a fair thing to say. And what I've noticed is that, you know, if people are, you know, just a little bit above the average IQ in the United States, it doesn't take that much, and deconditioned, everyone sees this stuff relatively easily. It's like the story and what the belief, which is actually a total fraud of a movie, but still a good illustration, that the tribe saw I guess it was Columbus or whoever, the conquistadors, or was it conquistadors that came? Yeah. You know, fucking white guys on boats coming to kill everybody. And nobody could see them except they saw the waves. So somebody went and get the shaman and they're like, what is that? And he sees the boat because his mind is open. And once he tells them it's a boat, then they can all see the boat, you know? And my experience is that this kind of metaphysics that is generally packaged as Hermetic philosophy, it's like that, you know? Once people are sort of made aware of it, it's so fundamental to our existence that it's just blatantly obvious, you know? And that is why I have been so committed to encouraging acclamation of these type of ideas, because, you know, if anything is the antidote to the atom bomb, it is this school of metaphysical thought, more than anything I've ever seen, you know. I really honestly feel like even a lot of the best of the Eastern systems are traps, you know. They're still traps at the end of the day. They're not really liberating. They're not really, you know, they're not empowering. They're not creating a diverse, enriched body of adherents, you know. And what we actually need is people that are so autonomous and so sure of themselves and wise and really dedicated to having the most profound understanding of themselves and the universe, and then engineering a profoundly symbiotic relationship with their environment and the beings in it, right? And so what I'm going to be offering you guys tonight is a little bit of insight into how these things work, what you need to do, and the best resources, the best authors that I'm aware of, I'll share. And of course, if you guys are new to the channel, there's tons of information, all this. I've already gone through the Kybalion page by page and done commentary. I may do a little bit of that now because I realize I've been through absolute hell since last time I did that, and I've probably grown a lot as a person. And that's another interesting thing about this. You can kind of tell the bodies of work that are authentic because they will always yield more information for you. The Book of Lies by Aleister Crowley is an excellent example of that. The first time I read it, I didn't really, you can sense that he's communicating something really important, but it's kind of buried in all this weird gobbledygook. And over time, as I developed in my own initiatory process, I'd pick the book up again and read it, and I would go, oh my God, really? And 6 months later, do it again, 6 months later, and every single time, like onion peeling, So you'll also notice that even when you have like rock musicians, like the guy that wrote for the Grateful Dead, he'll write lines that have 8 layers of meaning. Maynard James Keenan from Tool does it as well. What do they have in common? LSD. Which, by the way, when people have kind of criticized me for trying to mix plant medicine with this kind of Western occult tradition for various reasons, the reality is that it is a shamanic tradition. And it is still evident today if you really know how to pay attention. This is not the kind of thing that the Freemasons are writing on their pamphlets. But as many of you probably know, and did I tell you I'm going to tell you a ghost story tonight? It happened last night, and it's totally real. And I don't necessarily believe in that sort of thing, so right there, like right in there, I'm almost scared to try to go in there. I had to drink. Well, I'll tell you guys in a minute when we get to the psychedelic segment of the live stream. But if you've studied the mysteries at all, then you probably know about the apoptye and the Kybalion and all of that sort of stuff. All of the major mystery traditions had some sort of psychoactive beverage that they consumed, and they weren't allowed to do so until they had reached a certain rank and status within the society, the fraternity. But they weren't fraternities back then. They were what do you call it? Like when everyone can go in the same bathroom. Whatever, you guys know what I'm talking about. Men and women together, co-ed mystery schools. I'm not sure about the Eleusinian one, but the one with the Kybalion, definitely. Well, the feminine was still worshipped, before the assemblage of the real mysteries, there was the temple whore, and she was not like disrespected or looked down upon. You would go and pay her and have sex with her, and it was a blessing, and she might be an oracle too and tell you a bunch of stuff that you needed to do. Yeah, well, I'm curious what you mean that the numbers aren't the same as mine, because sometimes it'll say 0 on my screen, and then people will start talking, so YouTube lies to me. By the way, you guys, at any time, if you have questions or anything, just pop it in the chat. I'm going to check every few minutes and see what's up. So what I was saying is that the drink that was consumed in the Eleusinian mysteries, in my opinion, was probably Syrian rue and acacia, confusa, I think, would be the one in that region that would be the most potent. And there also is a little bit of evidence that they may have used ergot fungus, but that theory is a little bit, it's not very likely that people will continue to experiment with something that makes you have gangrene-like symptoms and your limbs fall off and go insane, hallucinating. So I don't know that they would have been experimenting with ergot fungus long enough to figure out how to, make it into an LSD drink. It just doesn't, it's a cute idea, but if you just think it through, I don't think that works. I really don't. Unless that, I don't know. I'm not buying it. I think it's much more likely that it was DMT and acacia. And here is the real bit of proof. 33rd degree Freemasons and higher. Yes, there is something above the 33rd degree. No one knows what it's called. I mean, I don't. Someone does, but it's not on the internet. It's not common knowledge. The acacia leaves are sprinkled on their grave when they die, and of course, the DMT in those leaves is a window into the other world. So it's pretty difficult to argue that it's probably just a coincidence and has nothing to do with the DMT in the leaves. Doesn't really seem plausible. So the basic concept behind what a lot of people call scientific Illuminism, which is basically the protocol of the real Illuminati, not the Illuminati that you hear about on all the bullshit, hyped up, fear-mongering, conspiracy narrative morons that don't know what the fuck they're talking about. Like, if you've actually done your research like I have and actually joined some of these societies and read all the books, and you know that they haven't even studied anything. They're just repeating the shit that other paranoid idiots are repeating. They don't know anything. It's like one of them makes shit up, then they all parrot it. And then another one makes something up, and then they all parrot it. That's what that is, I'm not saying there aren't evil people amongst the elite. I'm just saying that, the Illuminati and the mystery traditions have gotten a really bad rap because of idiot Christians, really, Probably can't even read. So how are they going to research? I guess I should have empathy. Because if you're too stupid to read, then, how are you going to do any research? So that's fair. But so the protocol, basically, is a combination of, educating yourself to the fullest extent in some school of psychology, preferably a few. For most of us these days, it would be Jung. There may be some modern person emerging. And if it's something that you're really committed to, one of the obligations that we all have to each other is to keep our eyes peeled for stuff and make everyone aware of this resource. So psychology, mathematics, the natural world, everything you can learn about biology, physics, on both the quantum and everything you possibly can about the universe, and then you're also supporting that with contemplation, self-analysis, diligent dissolution of democratic beliefs, Republican beliefs, any kind of political designation at all whatsoever is evil. Get over it. Period. No excuses, no exceptions. They're owned by the same people, and they have narratives that are written for them, and they play roles. That's all that's happening with Donald Trump. That's all that's happening with Biden. That's all that's ever going to happen with any other politician. Stop it. Stop playing along. Shit's not funny anymore. Cut it out. Don't be dumb. Free your mind, and your ass will follow. So, there's that. But seriously, transcending cultural, paradigms and overstepping the parameters, coloring outside of the lines, all that stuff is really important. And then, of course, breath work, plant medicine, and psychedelics. It's just a very syncretic approach. And one of the fundamental skills that you have to have is to really learn to be objective in evaluating information. It's very, very difficult because, especially in times like this when people are scared, I said something the other day about transmuting fear into other forms of energy that can actually do something for you to make it, positive and productive. And the number of people that were like, yeah, how do we get rid of all this fear? It's bad. People are fucking scared. There's no doubt about it. And so luckily, any type of energy can be transmuted into any other type, and we have an inexhaustible supply. All you have to do is make yourself a fit receptacle, and you can draw any influence that you need to you. It's very helpful. So, and I apologize, I am a little bit loopy still, man. I've had a hell of a week, and last night was sort of the first night that I got sleep in a while, but when my guitar started playing by itself in the corner of the room, and I'm the only living thing in the house, I couldn't sleep for a while. And then I decided, there's a plant called Brumansia Toei. It's a scopolamine plant, and it's very good for insomnia and inflammation and stuff, but I'm in a different country than I was the last time I drank it, and it was obviously different. The smell was so seductive and beautiful. It was like the most amazing thing I've ever smelled in my life by miles and miles and miles. And so after this incident with the ghost, I brewed up a couple of flowers, and I knew it was going to be stronger than the Ecuadorian version. And so I ended up in this state where I couldn't really tell whether I was sleeping or awake. And I think I was waking up and falling asleep, but it was the same, the same lucidity, clarity. And we'll talk a little bit about that later. I'll go into some more detail. The why is to establish knowledge and conversation of the holy guardian angel, to borrow a phrase from Crowley. The way that Jung put it is the higher self. I believe he's actually the person that coined that word and synchronicity. The higher genius was what the Greeks were trying to do. There's some continuity here with this idea. And to develop skills so that you can learn to have confidence between intuition and just logical, rational, conscious processing, which is actually probably the hardest thing to do. It has been for me, anyways. I'm actually shocked and appalled sometimes at how resistant I've been in cooperating with this once I knew that I had legitimately attained it. But my research has shown that that's pretty common. So, all right, so what happened? How did we get to this point? What the fuck is the Kybalion? This particular copy it was 81 years old when I found it. Let's see, 1912. So that's well over 100 years, right? Yeah. Man. And I mean, you can see, look at the condition that it's in. It looked like it had never been opened when I bought it. And the wild thing about it is that I was just laying in bed waiting for my narcissist girlfriend to put her 4 hours of makeup on before she could walk out of the front. I'm not kidding. 4 hours every time. If we went to the fucking grocery store, doesn't matter. 4 hours. And she'd do this weird wholesome whistling. Oh, what the fuck? So I'm laying in bed reading one of Crowley's books where he is advising his students about what they should read. And I had plenty of time. So I noticed the Kybalion, and I just stuck out, and I was like, I need to go find this. So we were leaving to go to the beach, Mendocino, California. And it has a year-round peak population of 300 people. So the chances that some 100-year-old first edition copy of that book were going to be there somewhere, it's pretty slim, except it's California. So I guess if it was going to be anywhere, but still, I mean, old dusty bookshop, tiny town. We get there and I'm like, hey, let's go in this used bookshop, and we go upstairs, and as soon as we get upstairs, she pulls the book off the counter shelf and she's like, isn't this the book you were talking about finding? And I'm pretty sure that he mentions in the introduction that you will probably, he's like, if you have this book in your hand, it probably because it's high time that happened, and you probably found it under strange circumstances. And I was like, well, that's eerily accurate. And so it got a lot weirder after that. We went back to the hotel room to none of your business and and eat acid. And I was just eating the acid, barely started working it, and I thought, all right, because I'd been studying this at this point for 20 years or something, and I'd noticed there was this every now and then there would be comments made by all of these writers about Lucifer that seemed kind of positive, and that I had always kind of had, my intuition had always kind of picked up on that archetype and thought the way that the Christians portrayed this is not right. So I already kind of knew that, and it's definitely 100% true. It was deliberate demonization of consciousness, and we'll get to that part of the story. But so that was what was on my mind. So I just held the book up, and I said, what does Lucifer have to do with all this? And I popped the book open, and it doesn't look like it worked this time. But I popped it open and held it up like that, and I'm looking directly at the word Lucifer and the name, and I'm like, no. So I flipped it around. My girlfriend vomits when she realizes what's happening because she just started tripping, and she just watched me do this, So, I mean, it was probably borderline terrifying for her. I couldn't believe it. And then later I checked. I went through the entire book, and it's the only time that name occurs in the entire book, and there's 200 pages, over 200 pages. So throughout the rest of the night, and part of what I'm trying to illustrate here, just for the sake of clarity, is that when there are objects, concepts, or people that are really close to the fundamental source, that are, really connected at their core to this sort of energetic frequency, this kind of consciousness, that type of stuff tends to happen around them a lot. Anyone that hung around the Grateful Dead would say that. I've gotten that kind of feedback from everyone that I've ever known. The Masonic book will do that. Like, it's definitely true that these things are like consciousness that has been encapsulated in some sort of physical object, And so nobody knows who wrote it. Because it doesn't matter. No one wrote it. The true scripture is written large upon the lands for those who have eyes to see. And so that's really what this stuff is. It's not a doctrine that belongs to people. It's the truth about the universe. And a sort of operating manual, I guess. But so hold on, though. I did skip something that's kind of valid. So what I was saying about opening the book to like random, Lucifer, and then I open right to the page. And we would be sitting in the hot tub, or, man, it was beautiful. The cliffs in the California ocean in the middle of nowhere, it was absolutely extraordinary. And hot tub's like right on the edge of the cliff. And so we would get stuck, and I would pick up the book and open it, and it would open to exactly the spot that allowed us to continue working out whatever we were dealing with. At one point, I remember we had both assumed the role of the masculine and the feminine in its like archetypal form, not as individual man and woman, but as the archetype, I guess. And it allowed us to basically pierce the veil and come to a much greater knowledge and understanding of the function of the point in the circle, which is one of the fundamental concepts of this stuff, that opposites, antinomies, equal and opposite forces interacting to create a third thing of a higher nature. That is the whole, basis of the process of creation. And I wish I could remember some of it. I do remember saying, she said something about, "You'll never understand me." And I'm like, that's the fucking point. Because as the mystery and the potential and the never-ending space, the idea is that once all of the knowledge has been absorbed into the universal mind, the whole thing collapses, the light dissolves itself, it collapses back into the singularity and starts over again. So what I was saying to her, and I was consciously aware of what it meant, is, the minute I do figure it out, we're all fucking dead, so, So anyways, let's try to get a little bit into the material. And one other thing, I guess, the Hermetic philosophy, it says on the front of the book, and a lot of people have criticized that and said that how are there only 12 people in the vertical one? What the fuck? Oh, it's Sunday night. All right, I'm fine. So people say it's actually New Thought, that it's the New Thought school, and I don't know what they're talking about. Because it doesn't matter whether you're talking about Helena Blavatsky's secret doctrine or Pythagoras' work or the Kybalion or morals and dogma or magic and theory and practice or even some of the right here in the Andes, a lot of the sort of ritualized practices like little blessings and stuff are exact reflections in a different medium of these other fundamental practices and all of these different traditions. So that sort of attempt to invalidate something through categorization is just kind of silly. Some people say, I think, that the secret author of this was Paul Foster Case. I'm not sure about that because I've always found him to be kind of bunk. And the Kybalion is not bunk. Should we start with the Kybalion or should we talk about alchemy? Because I feel like, oh wow, you guys are way behind me in the... My screen is like 10 minutes ago. I don't understand why the lag is so bad. Sorry, I just want to catch the chats up because I don't want to ignore people accidentally. Oh, he says, I love the red book. Well, you know what's funny about that? I wish I had a copy of it right around me, but the book of the law is Liber Legis. I can't remember what the red book is, like Liber Novus or something. And the typeset on it is the same, and it's the same size, you know, the original printing. And Jung, to my knowledge, never said a word about Crowley. But Higher Self, Holy Guardian Angel, the Liber Legis and his Liber whatever it was, there's no doubt that he was a huge fan of Crowley, but just didn't want to talk about it. Okay, I was talking about alchemy maybe, because I know a lot of people have been. Yeah, all right. Well, let's go through a little bit of an introduction to each one of the subjects that I have there, and then maybe I'll do a series of these, and we can really get into some depth. So, you know, like a lot of people, I'm not really super interested in alchemy, but it offers, I mean, in the physical process of alchemy, you know, but it does offer us some of our greatest proofs that the ancients in this lineage actually were dialed into something, and it sort of proves our position on this stuff pretty well. The most obvious and powerful of these things, I think, is also in Morals and Dogma, because we, in 2003 or so, I think, someone was able to knock a proton off of Mercury. And now think about this. What planet is right next to the sun, and what is our objective? To make gold. So why is it that the metal Mercury knock a proton off and it's gold? Just like the macro, micro. You know what I mean? That's as above, so below. Like, it's insane. And the thing is, no human did that deliberately. Can't tell me that somebody just did that deliberately, because you can look at what cultures and the time frames, then there's just no way. It does not follow. So, does not track. So, you know, that, for example, is nuts. And in Albert Pike's book, he actually talks about how, I mean, he goes into more detail about how to actually physically do this than I've ever seen anywhere. I was actually a little bit surprised to see it discussed that openly. But, where was I with this? Oh yeah, he talks about how, you know, the lead is there as a sort of like neutral substrate, but the active constituent is mercury, and that's the important part. And then once you have gone through a certain very tedious process that is both internal and external, then you can apply a tremendous amount of a shock of electricity, and that is how the physical gold is created. And that's exactly what they did in the laboratory in 2003. So, you know, and like I said, this I don't think that this constitutes like scientific proof, but I also think that materialist, and they still just roll their eyes and tell you it's not proof, you're dealing with an idiot. It's not you. Don't let them gaslight you. And when I say idiot, I don't necessarily mean people of low intelligence. There's many different ways to be stupid. And being brainwashed and indoctrinated to the point where you're not able to process information, even if it's like blaringly obvious, that's a form of stupidity. That's the most prevalent form of stupidity. And one of the worst things about it is it makes people that actually are intelligent think they're stupid, because there's such a huge mass of people that obviously have IQ intelligence. You know, they're lawyers and accountants and doctors and even scientists. And so, you know, somebody like me with basically no formal education at all of my knowledge and understanding is either self-research or intuition, like literally just a voice in my head telling me shit. Oftentimes I'll get that voice and then I'll have to look it up and Google it and see if it's right, and it always is. So, and it doesn't mean I know everything, because I can't just do it deliberately, but this stuff just does leak in sometimes, you know, and the influence of our culture really takes a lot away from us, I think, by making people doubt themselves. You know, that it's like social, how would you say, like societal gaslighting or something? camera froze. Just give me a second. Let me, oh, I see. Yeah. I think I can fix that real quick. All right, moving again, right? Good deal. So, where was I? Yeah, that's very important. Very, very important. And another thing that I really struggle to not react to, I guess, is this reluctance that people have to let go of ideas that they're very attached to that are not productive. A lot of people got really irritated with me. I mean, I was kind of trying to be funny, but I guess it pissed some people off too. Pointing out that the only people anywhere in the world, according to literally like 50 studies over, all over different continents, the only people that are ever 100%, okay, 100% of the time, 100%, not 99.999, 100% of the time, demonic possessions and problems from evil spirits only occur in cultures that believe in them. Not only that, but there is a positive correlation between belief in Jesus and demonic possession. Now, isn't that supposed to protect you from evil? First of fucking all. So what does that mean? Is it maybe the Christians reversed who was good and who was evil? Either it's not real or it's a trap. That's the reality. The Gnostics had it right, but they tried to keep Jesus and act like he was a good cuddly thing, As if Satan's going to come as an angel of light, and what he got kicked out of heaven for is trying to be God, wouldn't he come down here acting like he's God and preaching good morality because he's the ultimate deceiver, and yet trying to trick people into committing blasphemy? Isn't that exactly what would... I mean, we're kind of going off track a little bit, but it hurts my fucking brain to think that people don't notice this stuff. Is the audio bad or something? I'm seeing all these... No, it didn't freeze up. Hello? What the hell? The volume? Yeah, there is some kind of problem. Damn it. Oh. Hello. All right, we should be good now, right? All good? That sucks. How long was I talking to myself? Because that was like one of the pinnacle moments of this whole series of streams, I think. I don't know if I can repeat it as well as I just... Oh, man. Well, sorry about that, guys. I have no idea why everything is set up the way it should be. Streams, I think. I don't know if I can repeat it as well as I just... Oh, man. Well, sorry about that, guys. I have no idea why everything is set up the way it should be. And now it's distorting really badly. Hello. Is it still distorted for you guys? I think. It sounds... I don't know if I can repeat it as well as I just... Is it still bad? Damn. Oh, man. Well, sorry about that, guys. I have no idea why everything is set up the way it should be. And now it's distorting really badly. Hello. Is it still distorted for you guys? I think. It sounds... I don't know if I can repeat it as well as I just... Is it still bad? Damn. Oh, man. Well, sorry about that, guys. I have no idea why everything is... swells and consumes that which it created. That's how the physical gold is created. To protect you from evil really badly. Hello. Is it still distorted for you guys? I think. It sounds... I don't know if I can repeat it as well as I just... Is it still bad? Damn. Yeah, the looping should have stopped, right? Okay, so what was I talking about when I got cut off? Because it was probably the Jesus thing, which was really important. Too much gain and now an echo? Oh my God. Yeah, so are there still audio problems? It looks like my camera stopped moving too. No. Literally didn't touch anything. I mean, it just doesn't make any sense. It's like something is trying to stop me, like the ghost in this house is trying to stop me from getting this information out. Yeah, I can see the signal suddenly low and everything. All right, I guess I'm gonna have to kill it and then see if I can fix